Welcome to Inspiring Salon Professionals, the podcast that allows every therapist, nail tech and stylist to level up, build their career and reach for their dreams. Each week we'll be looking at a different area of the industry, and along the way I'll be chatting with salon owners, industry leaders and mentors who'll be sharing their stories on how they achieved their goals and made their successes. I'm Sue Davies, your host, award-winning salon owner and industry professional. Welcome to Inspiring Salon Professionals. Hi everybody, and this week we are on episode 15, I think it is, and I am joined by Samantha Bance, who is a cruise professional and has been working cruises for a very long time, and love her she's agreed to come on and talk about it because it's a part of the industry that isn't really promoted massively. I think if you're in college and doing an FE course, quite often some of the cruise companies may come out on a recruitment drive. But other than that, it's something that is a little bit less talked about, and a lot less people do it than working in the salon or mobile or whatever. But I thought it'd be really interesting just to cover, because it gives you an amazing opportunity to go around the world, and it has a lot of ups and downs, and it'd be interesting to hear all about it because I've known a couple of people that have done cruise careers over the years, and this opportunity I didn't want to let it go by. So I'll hand over to the interview now, and I'll see you on the other side. We had a little bit of a delay on this episode because of the ship's Wi-Fi that Sam was using. So please forgive us if there's any over talking, and I will try and edit this as best I can. But please do bear with us, because the information that Sam gives is not only insightful but is inspirational. And I have to say, I think I want to go and work on a cruise ship now and go and do some of the stuff that she's done. It sounds like an amazing career, and I hope you enjoy the podcast. Okay, hello, and we're now joined by Samantha Bance, who is a spa manager on board a ship who's docked in Cadiz in Spain at the moment, and is generously sparing us some time to talk to us all about career pathway of being on a cruise ship, because it's a nice little career pathway you can take and see the world at the same time. So Samantha, welcome. And if you'd just like to give us a little bit of a history about what you've done, who you are, what you've done, and then we can sort of go into more detail as we go.
So I've been qualified now as a beautician for almost 15 years. I started on land, worked for a very renowned spa company for about 5 years before going to the French Alps to be a spa manager, where I worked by myself. I had a little room in a hotel in the French Alps, which was amazing. I did that for 4 months, and then when my contract ended, I went back to the spa on land, where I worked for a couple of years until I met a wonderful lady who worked for an English skincare company, who came to the spa. She would come every month, and she would train us in the new skincare products, and she would tell us all about these amazing stories of her traveling the world, and she'd seen all these different countries and the experience that she gained. And I thought, wow, this woman was just like my idol. She was amazing. And I thought, you know what, that's something I want to do. So that was it. And then I applied for the job, and 7 contracts later, I'm here on board a luxury cruise ship, managing a beautiful brand new spa that's just launched recently. They did cut the ship in half. They've added a brand new section to the ship. Wow. And I'm really happy with the spa. It's absolutely amazing. Everything's brand new, and it's just wonderful.
Did they do that? They take that opportunity during all the lockdowns?
Yes, so they plan to make their some of their star class ships like bigger. So what they did is they cut the ships in half, and they added a section, and this is now the second one that they've just launched. And it's just been amazing. It's just an incredible experience.
Fantastic. So if you just start, because it's something I think that, you know, if you're in a further education college, there's a couple of the large cruise recruitment companies that come around and will talk to to students. But obviously, if you haven't been through that further education experience, you may not understand what working on a cruise ship is, or how you can actually apply for it. So could you just talk us through how you can approach, or, you know, if there's a sort of, you know, can you look it up on Google, and how you apply to the recruitment process?
So yes, you can look this up on the internet. There are obviously several steps and stages that you go through. So obviously you'd send your CV across, and then you'd wait for the recruitment agency. I think now, obviously with social media, I think there's probably a lot. I mean, when I applied, there wasn't like things like LinkedIn, there wasn't these other social media sites that you could sort of have these contacts. But yeah, I just, you can look on Google, search for cruise ship jobs or job opportunities, and then obviously you would go for the process. So my process was that I had an interview. I was asked to go for an interview in London, and then you'd have a trade test. So I did a massage. So I did a trade test for a massage. They pair you up with somebody else, and then we also had a group exercise. So we had to stand up in front of the rest of the interviewees, and obviously like explain give a bit of a background and introduction to the rest of the team and the experience that we've done. And then that was pretty much then they ask you they'll send you an email to say whether you've been accepted or not. And then luckily I was accepted, and then I went for training. Did 6 weeks at the academy before I was then sent off to the ship.
Blimey. And so what's it like when you first go, like, because I think there's so many unknowns about this, like generally within the industry, because most of us come out of college or out of our training and go and work on land, as you would call it. And so we have no idea. And it seems like a very glamorous lifestyle, being on a cruise ship and touring around the world and doing all the lovely things that you get to do. But I know from some of the people over the years that I've spoken to, it is incredibly hard work. And once you get on ship, it's a very different animal.
Yes, it is. There's nothing that can quite prepare you for what's ahead. But saying that, when you come on board, it's like, everyone becomes your family. It's like people that work in the shops, the people that, the doctors, the nurses, the receptionists, everyone is there to help you, and it's like you bond very quickly with the people in your team. It's like a second family. Yeah. And yes, it is very hard. You work very long hours, but after a while, sort of once you get, after a couple of weeks or a month, it's sort of like, it gets a bit easier. And there are some days where you think, oh my goodness, like, how I couldn't ever do this, like work, a 12-hour shift or a 14-hour shift ever on land. But you sort of get into that momentum, and you just you forget.
Yeah,
because it's such a wonderful experience, and you're like, oh, we're in Cadiz today, or we're going to be in Barbados tomorrow.
Yeah,
and
I suppose as well, everybody that you're providing services for is on holiday, so they're in a really good mood, and they're on a good, they're in a good buzzy place.
No, everyone's like, really, especially obviously coming back from COVID, everyone's so happy to be back sailing again, and everyone's relaxed, and it's just a really nice, wonderful environment to work in.
Okay, so just as like sort of technicalities of how things work. So you're employed by a British company, aren't you? Mm-hmm. And so that means, so do you feel, because it's like, because once you're off and you're on board and you've left land, then obviously you're like in international waters. So your pay is under like the British pay system. Is that how it works?
Yeah.
Is wherever the company's based that employs you operate under that scheme?
No. So no, it works a little bit different. When you're at sea, you're in international waters, you don't pay any taxes. So all of the money that you get paid is in, I think it varies slightly from ship to ship, but for example, I'm paid in US dollars.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't pay any tax or national insurance. So that money then becomes like, it's like a saving. It's almost like a saving.
Yeah, because I know people that do it is that was part of the reason that a lot of them do it, is to earn that extra bit of money.
Yeah, it's a great way. It's a great way to save money for sure, definitely.
Yeah,
and
so
also
if
you're not
it is to
paying
save
any
money,
extra expenses like travel.
Sorry, we've got a slight delay.
I mean, I don't
realised yet.
Yeah. So yeah, like when I was working on land, I was like, a third of my wages was going on just being able to get to work, you know. And now I don't have to pay, I don't have to wait for a train. I'm, not sitting in the rain, or I just, get in the lift, go up a few levels, and then I'm at work.
Is the rate of pay equivalent like to what you would earn in a spa or a salon if you were on land, but then you get the added bonus of the tax-free status?
So it works a little bit different. You have a minimum amount of earnings. You don't get paid hourly. So how it works is that it's based on, so you get commission, so you get a certain percentage from each service that you provide. Mm-hmm. And then from that commission then is then your wages.
Yeah. Oh, right, okay. And you receive tips as well, don't you?
Yeah.
Excellent. The whole pay structure of being on board a ship is so different, isn't it? It's a massive bonus, isn't it? Because
the good thing about that is like it's your business. It's sort of like your own little mini business. Yeah. I mean, you can make as less or as more money as opposed to just being on land where you're just set to that certain bracket range, whereas like here it's like limitless. You can earn little or as much as you want.
So like you were saying, like this is your 7th contract, so does a contract last for like just for what would be like traditional holiday season from say like April to September, or is it like a year's contract that you take? Because obviously the seasons work differently around the world, and if you're on a boat it can move around wherever the warm weather is, can't it?
Yeah, so what happens is obviously like ships are operating 365 days of the year. So depending on what time of the season you join, whether that's January or November or December, that ship will be sailing, like say the Mediterranean now, for example, it's coming to the end of the season. So we've been sailing in the Mediterranean. This is our last cruise, and then we do the Atlantic crossing over to Barbados. So we will then go for the Caribbean season.
Yeah. And all of the staff that are on board will take that Atlantic crossing.
Sail to different parts of the world. Yes.
Yeah. Amazing. So what do you get to do? So if you're working 12 to 14 hours a day, do you do that like 5 days a week and you get a couple of days off? How does the downtime work, and what do you get to do on your downtime?
Yeah. So what happens is every 7 days you get 3 half days off, and that is either going to be a morning off or an afternoon off. So if it's a morning off, you start your shift at 2:30, and if it's an afternoon, you would finish work at like 2:30, 3 o'clock, and then you wouldn't need to come back to the spa until obviously your next shift. Obviously there's opportunity for you to earn incentives. So when you reach targets, so as opposed to at land, when I was working in a spa, you would when you'd reach your target or your incentive, you'd get money to spend on that particular skincare brand. Whereas on ships, it's more like your prize is actually getting hours, like incentive time. So you'd build up your hours for that particular cruise. Say I had one of my therapists that earned 5.5 hours incentive time last cruise, which she can take this cruise, and say for instance on a quiet port day she could take like a full day as opposed to just having a half day.
Oh, right, okay. So if you've got like say a full day of time that you can take, can you
Yes.
go on the whatever they're called, my brain's gone, can you go on the excursions and stuff so that you get to go and go on land?
Yeah. So we have a privilege of actually being a tour escort on the guest tours. So you can sign up, put your name down, and you go on the tours free of charge. And then obviously part of that deal is that you're there, you're an escort, and you just help with and assist if needed with like any with the guests, but you're able to get off by yourself. Obviously things have changed a little bit since COVID, but you can go ashore, and
and that's how you do the get to see the world bit, I suppose.
Exactly, and that's how you get to see places. And
so your contract, so what do you get time to actually be able to go and do travel yourself? Because I mean, with all the extra pennies that you get in your pocket, the temptation's got to be to go back to some of the amazing places that you've stopped over in.
Yeah, absolutely. At the moment for me, my money is going towards my studying. So I'm studying for my level 4 in aesthetics. Mm-hmm. So the money I'm earning now is going towards my studying. But no, actually I did, I think it was my first contract, sorry, I'm just trying to think now, it's been such a long time. I wanted to visit a friend in New Zealand, and my second contract I was joining my second ship in Australia. So I thought, right, that's it, this is my opportunity now to go to New Zealand. So I went backpacking for 4 weeks in New Zealand, met my friend who came to live in England. And we worked together. That's how we became good friends. And I thought, do you know what? This is my chance. So I went backpacking into New Zealand, and then flew into Sydney to pick up my ship. And then I started my contract.
Brilliant.
So I had a 4-week vacation in New Zealand.
Yeah. So if you plan it well, then you can get to do. Yeah, I'll just go and pick my boat up in Sydney. That's fine. So how do you find it being away? Because obviously you have to leave your family and friends behind, and you're on ship for a long time. So how do you find communication back with the homeland kind of thing?
It's really good, actually. When I first started 7 years ago, it wasn't as good as it was now. And I think even, going back 5 years or 10 years before that, they didn't even have like FaceTime or internet. No. So I remember when I first joined on the ships, you'd get these like little paper printouts. You'd go to the machine down in the crew area. You'd put your $10 in. It would print out a receipt, and then you'd go to your cabin, and then you'd dial home. Yeah. Wow. But now you've got mobile phones, and you've got WhatsApp, and you most of the a lot of us now would go ashore. We'd get a local SIM card, and then whenever we're docked, we can then call home. So it's so easy. And now you've got.
I made the mistake.
Even if you're at sea, you can purchase like the ship internet as well. So even if we're in the middle of the ocean, you've got satellite still. So you can still communicate.
Just don't use your mobile phone on data, because it's really expensive. So that seems like a massive improvement then, isn't it? So especially with FaceTime and WhatsApp now, and if you can get off on if you're going on shore. Definitely. So what kind of treatments do you provide on board? Is it just literally a salon that's come from on land and literally picked up and put on board a ship? Is that are the treatment menus very similar?
Yes, they are very similar. For each type of ship, you have each one has their own signature brand, each ship. So each ship will then have their signature treatments.
Yeah.
But on pretty much, you've got obviously like your standard treatment menu list. So sort of like your Swedish massage, your deep tissue massage, facials, manicures, pedicures, haircuts, colouring. And then depending on the brand of the ship, they will have specific signature treatments, like are branded to their ship.
Mm-hmm. Part of the recruitment process, I presume they have to check your credentials and your qualifications and so on. So is it something that when you're recruiting that you will only look for people that have got like an NVQ level 2, level 3, or are you okay having people that have done less formal training, so like accredited courses and stuff?
No, they have to be like level 2, level 3 beauty. They have to be, it can't be like a sort of a one-day massage short course. It has to be a
formal national qualification. And would that be the same for the hair crew and for the nail technicians as well? So across the board within the spa area, it would all be national qualification.
Yeah,
that's good, because it does it. I mean, it maintains a level of standard, doesn't it, and quality. And so, I presume, like you were saying earlier, that you had 6 weeks training, but that's that's a lot of training to take you into a company. And I take it that's full-time training.
Yes, full-time every day.
For 6 weeks. I mean, that's quite an intensive induction program, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it was very intense. Yeah, I remember it was.
And so do you have to do that if you change company, so when you went, because I know you worked with one cruise line initially and then you moved to the brand you're with now, so do you have to then go through, every time you do it, you have to go through that induction with a different company?
No. So for me, what happened was when I moved to a different branded ship, I went back to the academy for a couple of days and learned some different treatments. I didn't have to go through the whole induction again. I would just go back and refresh or learn some different treatments, and then got sent off to the ship.
Okay. So as part of that induction, I would imagine you have to have like some level of safety training and just, emergency training, all that kind of stuff to be on board?
Yes. So again, depending on the ship that you go on, sometimes you would do it in the UK. So you would go on a separate safety training and then go to the ship. However, for me, I did all my safety training on board. So once I arrived, they schedule in your safety training, and then you would attend like drill safety training, how to, the fire extinguishers, how to evacuate the ship when it's sinking, life rafts.
Yeah.
And then they go through all of this, how to put your life jacket
quite, I don't know, it's a bit intimidating as well, isn't it? You just sort of, ships do sink.
Oh, yeah.
It's rare, but I suppose you have to be prepared for it. And I suppose, at the end, I suppose everybody turns into an assistant to get the passengers off before anything else, don't they? I suppose it's,
Yeah. So everyone on the whole ship has a duty, a position on board. So we practice duties, and we're expected to do crew drills once a week. So that's obviously, we run through different scenarios, and then we would do a passenger drill before we leave. So each turnaround, the beginning of a new cruise, we do a run through with the guests before the ship leaves.
Yeah, I suppose a bit like the boat equivalent of what the airline crew do with all of their, take your mask first and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's just, goodness, no, you don't think of those kind of things, do you? I think, and also, do they provide you? I mean, I'm presuming that they provide you uniforms so that everybody is all dressed the same and all present the brand well.
Oh yes, yeah.
It's amazing. So where's your favourite place you've been so far? I mean, obviously we've been doing it for quite a long time, so I'm sure you've probably seen virtually the whole world by now.
Yeah. It's such a difficult question, and I get this all the time from my guests. And I'm like, it's so hard because everywhere is so like different, and you have different experience, like different people, and like you think, oh yeah, I remember this place because I met this person. It's not so much yes, it's the place, but it's the experience and the culture, and you immersing yourself in the culture that actually like thinks, oh yeah, that was my favorite place. But there's been so many. I remember there's one that will always stick out for me, and that's when we went to Sri Lanka, and me and another friend from another department, we decided, we're going to have a few hours off. We've got some time off. Let's go outside. So we got on a little tuk-tuk, and he took us around. And he sort of like, we were a bit naive, and we didn't really agree a price. And he sort of ended up ripping us off. And then we were like, and it was one place I've always dreamt of going, like Sri Lanka. I was like, oh my God, I can't wait. And then I was like, oh. And then I sort of came back on. I was like, oh, a little bit disheartened. And I was like, oh. And then he said, no, don't worry, we'll go out. So we went, we said, we're going to go out for dinner. He said, come on, let's go out. Let's not let this, give us a bad view on the place. So we went back out, and we got into another tuk-tuk. We plucked up the courage, and we said, okay, look, this is the price. We want this. And this guy, I'll never forget, he took us for, we went to a restaurant, we had some food, and we went for a drink, we went for a tea, sorry. And then we said, let's get back into the tuk-tuk. And we said, we're really, really hungry. We said, could you take us to a place that's like really good to eat, like a local place where you go and get food from? And he said, don't worry, we'll take you. So he took us to a local place where we go to get food for him and his family, and he invited us to his house.
Wow.
So this house, I'll tell you, he invited us into his home. So we were like, oh my gosh. So we went into his home, we sat down, and his wife came out, and he introduced us to his two children and his wife. And his wife, they were so lovely. And I remember his wife leaving and then coming back with more food. Wow. And it was like they treated us like kings and queens. Like we had this like big display of like food. It was just like, it was just so, it like touched me so much. This guy that has like very little and is very poor, but he invited us into his home, like he gave us his food to eat, and we shared that food with him, and like that will stay with me forever. Like that was amazing.
And that's properly entering into the culture as well. One other question that kind of springs to mind is, how is it on the boat? Because are there any points? I take it you have to have a strong constitution to a degree to go on a boat. I mean, I've got quite good sea legs, but if you haven't got good sea legs, is it something you can get used to? Because I know they're all balanced, and the big ships you tend not to get seasick on, don't you? I think is a lot of people's experience. But there must be times when you go around. I mean, I know my dad's got good sea legs, and he got very, very on the Bay of Biscay.
Yeah, especially like the bigger ones, I still felt it a little bit. There was a couple of times that was on a 1,000 passenger ship, and we had a couple of days. I remember that was quite rough. I remember my first ever contract, and we're coming up from Antarctica down near Argentina, and we were sailing back up. We'd just been to Antarctica, so we're coming back up, and I was having dinner with the spa manager and a couple of the girls in the guest area, and it was starting to get really like bumpy, and I was like, what's going on? And all these like panelings are falling down, there was cutlery smashing. I was like, oh my gosh, what's going on? So there's been a few times, like especially I think on the smaller ones you do feel it, and it depends on the motion, like how the seas move in. Like still now, I think it depends on the person, like on the individual. Like I never really suffered quite badly with seasickness. For me, it affects like the swell where the seas come in. If it's coming from the back or the front end of the ship, I'm fine. So it could be as rough as it likes and the ship's moving like, you know, this way, and I'm fine. But if the swell's coming from the side of the ship and it's hitting, so the motion of the sea is coming from the side, then that affects me more. I get all a bit heady. It can make you feel quite drowsy as well, quite sleepy. But no, I think you sort of, it can affect you in different ways. Not necessarily like, you know, being nauseous or sick. It can affect you in different ways.
Yeah, it just takes the balance of your ears out, doesn't it, slightly, which is why people feel sick. And it is, and I suppose to a degree, it's a little bit like vertigo, isn't it? Because that's got that whole sort of room spinning and all that kind of stuff. So you can probably get a bit of that too. Because I know, like, if we had a trip, we went out off San Francisco a few years ago with the kids and went and did whale watching, and the crew hands were like, we have never seen a sea like this. It was so bad, and like the ship was like this. And my kids were very, very unwell, as were an awful lot of people on the boat. And me and my husband were just like, there were just no problem. We thought, we were like thinking it was quite good actually and quite exciting. But even coming off that, when I don't mind it and I didn't feel sick, but you get off and you all of a sudden you're everything's still going like that, isn't it? It's a bit of a weird experience.
That happened actually, saying that, like when you did you get that feeling when you came off the boat as like the land, like you're still going up and down on the boat?
It is, it is. It's like there's a fluid inside you that's doing that. It's really odd.
And
it takes a little while to settle.
With my first contract I had that, but afterwards I thought I might have that actually coming back this time, because I was at home for a year and a half, and that was the longest time I've been, you know, since being on the ships. And I thought, I wonder if I'm going to have that feel, that sensation again when I step on land, but I didn't have it. It's really strange.
Maybe you're just complete, like maybe feeling. Your brain and your ears are completely adjusted to life at sea now, like a mermaid. Oh dear. Right, well we better finish up because you've got to get off ship, haven't you, very shortly. So I'm just going to do a couple of very quick questions for you, and there's just a few. What makes you get out of bed every morning?
Wow, what makes me get out of bed? I guess like making someone's day, like making someone feel like amazing, and knowing that you've made a change, you've made a difference in someone's like day, and they come to you like afterwards or at the end of the treatment, and they come back to you at the end of the cruise and go, oh my God, Sam, you made my vacation, that massage was amazing, thank you so much.
Yeah, because I would imagine, like, because it is, I know if I have a treatment on holiday, it is, isn't it? I think they're so much more special because you're in such a different mind place that you need all of that downtime, and that extra aid just helps so much out. So what's been the happiest moment of your career to date?
Wow. What's been the happiest? Yes, like being when I finally got that call into the office and they said, here you go, here's that paper, and there's the name of that ship. And I was like, because I dreamt of this for years. What I didn't actually say was I did apply before that, 5 years before. So when I said I was on land for 5 years, I actually applied to work on ships 5 years prior to this, but I didn't get through the training. I failed, So they
can fail you even after they've taken you on.
So I failed my training. I spent all this money. And I thought, oh my gosh, my dreams like come to an end. And I like cried all the way home on the bus. And then I thought, do you know what? No, I'm not going to give up. So I got a job on land, and I was very fortunate. I was very lucky. I got a job in a very good spa, which gave me amazing. I learned so much, got fantastic experience. And then that's when I reapplied again for the ships. And then when I finally got that, got through that 6 weeks of training again, put myself through all that training, paid for all the training again, saved all that money again, and I got that piece of paper, and I was like, oh my God, like that was just the best day of my life. That was the best feeling. I cannot tell you, like oh my God. And that's like, here's your flight ticket. You're going to Buenos Aires, you're flying to Buenos Aires, Argentina to join your first ship. I was like,
wow.
oh my God.
And what a big trip to take. I mean, like Argentina is like the other end of the world, isn't it? It's just yeah. You've arrived kind of thing, don't you? And got you, and yeah, you're in an international spa worker. Oh, so and just to pick up there, you were saying you had to pay for training. So is that something that happens with a lot of with every cruise company, or is that just something that's specific to the company you were working with at the time?
Specifically with this one, yeah, we do. Obviously, with your first contract, they pay for your first flight out. And your return flight tickets, and then you do get reimbursed. I had to get a US visa, which I got reimbursed, so I didn't have to pay for that. There was a few little things, a few expenses, but I mean, I earned pretty much that back within the first month. So first month's salary.
As long as it's, I think the thing is that, for all of us, you have to invest in your training or in your career at some point. And so when you get paybacks like you get from, being on a cruise ship and traveling the world, it's a small amount of money, isn't it? Maybe to invest in that.
Yeah, it's a small price to pay for, I mean, the places I've seen, I mean, gosh, you're looking at hundreds and thousands of pounds,
Absolutely.
For all these places.
What's the best piece of advice that you've been given in your career so far?
Oh my gosh. I would say to follow through. So when you are training or giving any sort of advice or training or education to anybody, to always follow through on your word. Like always follow up. I'd probably say that's the best lesson I've learned.
Yeah.
And I mean, and that you're always, you're going to make mistakes along the way, but that's okay. You learn from mistakes, and that's how you grow.
Absolutely.
And also to come and take yourself out of your comfort zone. Don't be scared to come and step out of your comfort zone. When I was a therapist, I was scared to come out of my comfort zone, and I always wanted to be a manager, but I was scared. I thought I couldn't do it. But you've just got to take that leap of faith and just do it. And once you've done it, you think, oh my God, why was I so scared?
The parachute will usually open when you jump. Most of the time anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if you could change one thing in your career, what would it be?
In my career, I would say, that's a really difficult question.
It can be, can't it? I know. It's. Would you have done it sooner? Do you think? Like, obviously you wanted to do it 5 years before. Do you think?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I probably would have done it earlier on. So when I was much younger, I think if I could turn back the clock, because I was in a relationship at the time, I didn't take that leap of faith and kind of do it. So looking back now, yes, I think I probably would have done it when I was a little bit younger.
Yeah. And what would you say is your biggest inspiration, or who has been your biggest inspiration in getting to where you are?
There's been a few people along the way that I've met that have inspired me to, be like really like, the sky's the limit. So I've always been quite ambitious and wanted, had dreams and aspirations. And I guess, like my tutors, people that have taught me in beauty, they've been a real role model and an inspiration. And all my trainers along the way, brand ambassadors, people in the industry at the moment that I look up to and think, wow, I'd love to be a director or managing director one day and have my own skincare range. Or
you never know, do you? And the thing is that if you don't have the thought and you don't put it out there, it'll never happen. So you never know. The right person might be watching or listening, Samantha. could be the answer. So you spend a lot of time providing treatments and services to others. What's the best treatment you've ever had?
The best treatment, I would say it has to be there was a seaweed, it was a wrap treatment, and it was the first time I've ever experienced the treatment. It was fantastic. Actually, it was during my training, and I thought, wow, oh my gosh, this treatment's amazing. Like, I've never felt this good. I actually had acupuncture on board the ship. I'd probably say also that was also like a game changer. That was amazing. Like, having acupuncture was incredible. Being able to have the opportunity to actually experience that treatment was amazing.
Yeah. Oh, and finally, would you do...
But all the treatments are good.
Yeah, I know, this is it, isn't it? It's so hard. I'm just trying to book a spa break at the moment. Me and my friend have given up because we can't get the treatments we want. And it's so hard because there's just so many amazing things to have done, but we can't get booked in on the spa that we want to go to. So it's just like, oh, well, we'll forget that for now. And it's very, very difficult. There's just so many different opportunities, isn't there? And so many variations now. Whereas it just used to be, oh, I'm going to go and have an aromatherapy massage or a Swedish or a deep tissue. And now there's just...
And this is the thing. This is the thing I get as well. It's like, oh yeah, Swedish. It's like we've got now like 15 different massage treatments, different varieties. 50 just launched 7 new, brand new body treatments, and it's amazing. Like, there's so much like variation and different tools and techniques now that you can use. It's just amazing. It's amazing.
It's our industry. I just love the creativity we have within the industry, that things are always moving and evolving and changing, and that there's always something new. And sometimes, you know, things disappear to make room for them, but quite often, you know, the fundamentals that we all work to and that we all trained in initially are all still there, but it's just like new twists, and it's can't ever get bored, can you, really? As long as your hands don't go.
Right. That's what I love. That's what I love about the industry. You know, it's just evolving and changing, and and you can be creative as well. I'm a very creative person, and very hands-on. I'm very much a people's person, so I'm not someone that likes to be stuck, you know, sat at a desk all day. I like to be up and moving and chatting.
Oh, it's so good. So the final question is, would you do it all again? Or have you had enough?
Yes. In a heartbeat. I would definitely. No, definitely. I mean, like, there are times, like, don't get me wrong, where I think, oh, I just want to quit. Like, there's been so many times where I've wanted to just quit. Like, I've been so close to quitting and to saying, look, don't want to do this anymore. I want to go home. And I've been close to booking my flight home, but there's always something in the back of my mind. And I always tell myself, like, look, this is what I've gone through to get here. Look what I've achieved. Look where I'm going, look where I'm heading. Like, you know, there's so many possibilities. You know, yes, I might not be able to do this forever, but it's going to lead me into something amazing afterwards.
It is.
And give me so much
like, as you float off into the sunset.
But like it's going to give, like, the skills I've learned being on board in the last 7 years, I am never going to get these skills. You will never get these skills and these life skills from working on land. You will never be able to get that. And that's why it makes it so special. And, you know, like, if anyone's considering it, I'd just say, go for it. Just go for it. Even if you do one contract, it must give you like 8-9 months out of your life. Oh yeah, no, definitely. I mean, if you could see me 7 years ago, and when I was doing my training, I was such a shy, quiet, reserved, you know, person, and now I'm so more outgoing and, like, you know, just like more resilient and strong, and, you know, it's just grown and developed me, like, on a personal level, on a professional level, on everywhere. It's just really, I can't tell you how much it's, like, really made me grow as an individual.
I know, it's so good. And I'm so glad you came on today, because we only actually started talking, didn't we, yesterday, but we had a few different times we were going to do this, and obviously your timeline for today, because you're going to be setting sail again or getting off the ship. No, you're off the ship tonight.
Well, I'm actually I've got we've got like time slots where we can go ashore. So
you need to go.
Yeah, I just want to try and get on before we do the Atlantic crossing. I need to get my supplies. Yeah, chocolate bars.
Oh God, yeah, absolutely. This is what I think one of the reasons I'd find it difficult is being without all of those goodies.
Well, this contract, I actually I packed 2 suitcases. So I had two suitcases you're allowed. So I said, right, 1 suitcase is going to be for my clothes this time, and the second one I've got all my tea bags, all my Yorkshire teas, all my biscuits, all of my things that I love from home, and so.
And I take it though, but people like friends and family must be able to send you stuff for on board, so that when you dock, that you can get parcels and stuff delivered.
It's a bit trickier now. Before COVID, you could order off of, everyone was ordering off Amazon, but it's a bit trickier now with obviously the situation, the times we're living in. But I'm quite lucky now. I know a few people that work on this ship, and I've worked with them on previous contracts. So when they come back, they're like, this time I had a friend who was on board from Scotland, one of the officers, and we're still in communication. And I said, oh, I'm coming on the same ship as you. Do you want me to bring some tea bags for you? So I brought him some tea bags. And now one of the other officers from England's coming back on board, and he said, oh, let me know if you want some supplies from home. So he's going to be bringing tea bags and some chocolate for me. Oh, lovely.
Yeah, I'd missed my chocolate way too much, I think. Oh dear. Right, so we'll wrap the interview up there, so you just stay on here for a moment and I'll stop recording. But thank you so much, Samantha. I think it's a real insight into what it does take to be a cruise salon professional, and we'll leave the interview there. Thanks there to Samantha, and what an amazing insight into the world on board the cruise ships and not being on land. It's an amazing opportunity for anyone that's footloose and fancy free and doesn't have life commitments in place at this time. A great opportunity to go and visit everywhere you want to in the world. Like she was saying, it's very seasonal and the boats move around with the different seasons around the world. So once you're on contract, you will be perhaps in the Mediterranean for a few months, and then tripping off down to the Caribbean or down to Antarctica. I mean, just the few places that kind of trip off her tongue as she's talking about the places that she's been. And it's just, for most of us, a trip to Antarctica is something that is like a once in a lifetime. But it would seem that if you're on cruise ships, you might get to do that every year. That's just such an amazing thing to be able to witness. The one thing that did come out of that, though, is that clearly you do need to have your proper NVQ qualifications to be taken on board, and you will have to undergo some more intense training to make sure that you're up to date with all of the things that they want you to be able to perform and to provide the services on board. And then, of course, you're going to need to have like all of your safety training, which is quite an important part of it. And let's not forget that life at sea is not necessarily always plain sailing. Sometimes things can be a little bit erratic, and you do need to be there putting the passengers' safety first. So that's a really, really important thing to remember. Hopefully it's given everybody a bit of an insight into what a cruising career as a spa professional or salon professional is all about. And if it's something that you're interested in, get on Google and see if you can find some interesting roles that you can apply for. And I will see you. I think this is now going to wrap up the Career Pathways season and our little series that I've been doing. And in the next episodes, we'll be going on to maybe how you can start developing yourself and your career and your business a little bit more. So thanks ever so much for joining me. And thanks again to Samantha, and see you all next week. Bye for now. Thank you for listening to Inspiring Salon Professionals. And if you've enjoyed the podcast, please subscribe, leave a review, and share with other industry professionals you think may enjoy the show too. For links and further information, you'll find those in the show notes or on my website, www.suedavies.org. You can also hear more from me and join the Inspiring Salon Professionals community on the Facebook group. Thanks again and see you next time. Bye for now.